is what's so frustrating about this, because it is clear that Trump is unwell. I mean, it's clear. He's been unwell for quite some time. And anyone who all they do is eat shit food like McDonald's and well done fried steaks and ketchup, you're gonna have heart failure by the time you're 80 years old. Like, this guy's not a paragon of health. It's a joke when they say his doctor's coming out lying about how he could live to be 200 years old or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, are you kidding me?
Well, but these people think that he's the second coming of Christ. So it's like a lot. I think there are people who actually believe that.
First of all, let's be very clear. Donald Trump is nearly 80 years old. His birthday, I think, just happened, right? Like, I think he's
June 14th.
Yeah, so he's 79. So he's already lived above what I think the average American male lives. He, as Tara pointed out, eats like shit. Listen, if I eat McDonald's Big Macs every day and fries and Diet Coke, which is full of aspartame and other horrible stuff, and if I ate steak every day, like, I'd be in horrible health too. Like, public service announcement, maybe eat a salad once in a while. But the part that I think is actually deeply kind of troubling about all this is that if he dies, you know that MAGA is going to say that he was killed. You know there's going to be crazy conspiracy theories about why a 79-year-old obese man who eats like shit died. Because he can't die in their mind. And it's going to, the Russian bots and everybody else is going to start amplifying this. And the Democrats did it and the Democrats killed him. And that is going to lead to a level of discord in this country that I think is deeply dangerous. And I think somebody cynical as J.D. Vance, who I am loath to say will be the president of the United States, who I think in some ways is even worse than Trump, is going to feed this because J.D. Vance has no compunction about feeding shit like this. So I think we're about to enter, if he in fact is in ill health, we're about to, and may not be long for this world, I think we're about to enter a really dangerous moment in our nation.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. And like to the JD point, JD Vance, he has no core belief system. He has no values. He has no morals. Everything he says is what someone has told him to say or what he has to say in order to get ahead. He is incredibly ambitious. And this is why I use the talented Mr. Ripley scenario and comparison a lot, because no one knows who he is. He's had like 4 different legal names. His most recent legal name, JD Vance with no dots, wasn't until like 2013. He only recently became Catholic, Opus Dei, in 2019. He's never had a real job. All the jobs that he's had have been given to him by Peter Thiel or given him, millions of dollars to start venture capital, or was given $15 million to run for Senate, in which he only won by a very small margin, and then was ushered into Donald Trump's office by Peter Thiel. He is the mouthpiece for the tech bros, and that all the network state Curtis Yarvin stuff that we talk about, that's JD Vance. And that's where he's dangerous. And he's he's not well liked. The MAGA base doesn't like him because of because he's full of shit, first of all. And I think that they know that, but also his never Trumper past. He was called him America's Hitler at one point. So I think that you're right, Julie. I think that they will lean into any conspiracy theory that like Hillary Clinton or Kamala Harris is behind this or blah, 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 so that they can continue to snowball this power. Because there could be a hiccup, just in terms of, a transfer of power to someone who's deeply, deeply unlikable.
And I think the other part of this that's interesting is who is the heir apparent? Because you've got Donald Trump Jr., who has developed a profile of his own with some people who I think are quite dangerous. The gun people, all the worst elements of MAGA. Donald Trump Jr. is kind of their ambassador from Trump. And he's making a shitload of money based on the fact that he's the president the president's son. I mean, for all the Hunter Biden stuff, I mean, like, can please somebody take a look at what Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump are doing, and Ivanka and Jared, who, by the way, is still sitting in meetings right now, despite making billions off of the Saudis, about Middle Eastern policy. And so you're going to have Donald Trump Jr., who's going to see all of this money ebbing away because he's no longer the son of the president, so who gives a shit about what he has to say, fighting for control of MAGA with JD Vance. And it's going to be very interesting to see whether it's Donald Trump's son, who, of course, has a blood relation to him. So all of these MAGA people will say that he, you know, on the one hand, on the other hand, you have the president of the United States, JD Vance. So it's going to be fascinating to watch this war taking place among all of these kind of second generation MAGA people.
Yeah.
Because they're roughly the same age, Vance and Jr. But in the meantime, I think what they're all going to unite around is, you know, who did this to poor Donald Trump, who was in fantastic health because Ronnie Jackson, parentheses, deprived of his medical license, no longer able to practice medicine, has come out again today or yesterday or wherever he's come out and said, you know, Donald Trump is in the best health of any president in the United States.
How stupid do these people think we are? Like, honestly.
You're on mute, Tara.
Yeah, Tara, you're on mute, I think.
Nope, still on mute.
Let me see. Unmute. I'm unmuting you. Nope, can't unmute you. Your guest has chosen to mute themselves. Yeah, let's see what we can do here.
I found it.
Oh, there you go.
Am I there?
Yep.
Okay. So it even goes beyond this. I mean, first of all, we're at North Korean level propaganda between Caroline Levitt, her bullshit every single day. I mean, she's the female version of Baghdad Bob. And then you've got these doctors and the people, like, I did see the clips from the 3-hour cabinet
oh my God.
day,
I mean, just
which was, I mean, made me sick to my stomach. I said, what the
live from
hell is this?
Pyongyang.
Right, exactly. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And they did that because the speculation about his health was starting to go, like, people were starting to get louder about it again. So he had to go and prove that he's, you know, he's in great shape. It's just like what Vladimir Putin does, right, Julie? I mean, he does this kind of shit too when he goes through his health things to prove that he's still the tough guy and he's in charge. Meanwhile, it's not just those people like JD Vance and Don Jr. that we have to worry about. Let's not forget, there's the whole, I use the term intelligentsia very loosely here, but there's the whole right-wing fascist intelligentsia, the Project 2025 people, the Russell Votes and the Mike Davises and the people like that who were the authors of Project 2025, the Stephen Millers that want to see this country become a fascist place. And all they've done for their entire lives is come up with ways to circumvent the Constitution and use our democracy as a weapon against us to turn us into a fascist authoritarian country. So you also have to remember there's that faction also that thinks that they're smarter and they're more vicious, right? Like Don Jr. and them, they're complete idiots. They just want to have money and the fame. They don't actually want to do work. That's just like, it's like a game for that.
Right. And there was probably a point in their lives where they weren't this terrible. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Maybe when they were like 4.
Well, that's what I mean. I think they Stephen Miller came out of the womb.
Yeah.
You know,
spawn of evil.
Right.
So I'm just saying that's another area that we can't overlook. That we should be paying attention to.
You're absolutely right. And the question, I guess, is, and I don't have the answer to this, is who is more dangerous? Because Trump is deeply dangerous because he's deeply unwell. I think he's mentally unstable. I think somebody with his kind of wounded ego, I'm not a psychiatrist, but with his kind of wounded ego will push the nuclear button just to prove that he's a tough guy. On the other hand, you've got JD Vance, who I think is more calculating in some ways, and is certainly much more controlled by people who, as Michelle always points out, want to turn the rest of us into biofuel, like the Curtis Yarwins. And that in and of itself is fucking, sorry, Dad, insane. It's insane. And you get to the point where, are you really going to have somebody who's a leader of the free world who comes out of that mentality, who truly thinks that there are two types of people. The ones who it's like, you know, kind of Scientology on steroids, right? The ones who like will be the leaders of the world, and the rest of us who are dispensable, like physically dispensable. I don't think Trump thinks that way. I mean, he's got his own issues, but I don't think Trump thinks that way. And so I think for everybody who's sitting here kind of celebrating his demise potentially, bad days are ahead if he dies. Bad days are ahead if he lives too. So it's not like, you know,
Right.
an option. But I don't know what's going to happen if something like that happens, other than every single airport, museum, federal office building will be turned into Trump. You know, it'll be the Trump National Airport. You know, it'll be the Trump, you know, JFK will no longer be JFK. It'll be DJT Airport. You know, every single thing that they can sort of create a hagiography of Trump about, they will, kind of like Lenin, right? Like, if you think about it, Lenin was really, like, to go back to my Soviet roots, Lenin was really bad. I mean, awful, awful, awful. But when he died, I think in 1924, they put him in the mausoleum. They created this whole hagiography around him. People would come, you know, I remember the lines around the Kremlin, they would go on for hours in the cold, where people would literally just want to walk in to see his disgusting embalmed body for 2 seconds. But Stalin, who came later, it was worse. I mean, much worse. And so I'm not suggesting J.D. Vance is Stalin, but I'm suggesting the people around him certainly think that the rest of us are as disposable as Stalin thought his people were. And that's terrifying for us to think about.
Let's not forget that they said the coup will be bloodless if the left, left allows it.
The second right? American Revolution. Kevin Roberts, who's the head of the Heritage Foundation, said it will be a second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it.
So I have a newsletter coming out tomorrow, which I'll preview today, talking about a soft secession. Talking about the fact that,
I'm glad you're writing about that.
Yeah, talking about the fact that, and I'm not talking about a secession like, you know, we're going to Fort Sumter and we're firing cannonballs, but by any stretch of, by any metric, Democratic states, for the most part, are the wealthiest states in the country. California, if it were its own country, would be the 5th largest economy in the world. Just California alone, right? And the 5 most wealthy states are, and some of them are Republican, but it's California. I think I'm doing this in order, but I'm not positive because I don't have my notes in front of me. It's California, Texas, New York, Florida, and Illinois. So put away Texas and put away Florida, you have 3 of the 5 that are Democratic, controlled by Democrats. And then you go to Pennsylvania and states like that, also Democratic governor, Massachusetts, and so on. You know, New Jersey, they are capable of creating pacts among themselves that effectively push back on, you know, whether it's on the environment, whether it's on healthcare, whether it's on vaccines, whether it's on the economy, on a whole host of guns, on a whole host of things, to show the rest of the country what they're missing.
Yeah.
And you could have compacts. I mean, I go through the
but
whole
that's
thing.
Assuming, Julie, that they're not militarized. That's why Donald Trump is trying to militarize, you know, invade these cities. It's to have a presence there so they can't do this.
Well, they can invade cities, but they can certainly still do these things as a compact. So if I were the Democratic Governors Association, I would stop treating my little meetings as junkets where you all sit around and socialize and drink with each other, and start thinking of them as a war room and what you can do to push back on what is happening federally. The 10th Amendment allows you, and I can't believe as a Democrat I'm talking about the 10th Amendment, because that's something, Tara, as you know, Republicans talked about for generations. But the 10th Amendment allows them to do a lot more than I think they're doing right now. And so I'll have much more detail on this in my Substack on Salty Politics tomorrow. But I just want to bring that up to say dark days are ahead, regardless of what happens to Donald Trump's health. Dark days are ahead. And it is only Democratic states and governors that can push back in ways that the country needs, because the country needs to see. I mean, we have Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Going to ban vaccines. They're having a meeting on this next month to literally ban vaccines. Thank you so much, Bill Cassidy, for voting for this. I have half the people in my house right now sick with COVID. Now, Their
I
kids,
mean,
their kids will be okay, but they're banning
well,
it. They're banning it.
didn't the CDC director just get fired or resign because she refused to do the bullshit?
Yes,
And they
along with
pushed her out.
along with three other high-ranking officials in the infectious disease and vaccines and zoonotic research, things like that. Now, I know someone at the CDC, and she's been there for a very long time, and I've just been talking to her about what's been going on inside for the last several months. And I got to be real with everybody. It's really bad. And the CDC already is not an agency that employs a ton of people. I think people think of the CDC as this huge kind of thing. It's not. There's not that many people who work there. And Doge has already gone through and ransacked the place. That happened about 3-ish or so months ago. Ransacked infectious diseases departments. Ransacked, there's a whole part of the CDC that keeps animals, right? And they track zoonotic diseases and viruses. Like, they didn't even have places to keep the animals anymore. There was no one to even watch over them. Like, this was months ago. So now the person who's kind of in charge of that entire department is now gone. Now, when they resigned, the three of them came out with statements, and they were like, we had no other choice but to do this. And I think that the Republicans, from what I'm reading and from what I'm also assuming, they know how bad this is. They know. Because
yes, and yet they don't do shit until someone in their family dies, right? Until there's an outbreak in their well, we'll see. Maybe. We haven't seen it yet, thank God, because we haven't had a pandemic since COVID. But I mean, there's flesh-eating bacteria from oysters that's spreading around now. There's some other, these diseases are emerging here in the United States that shouldn't be. Right, shouldn't be, because we have these crazies running the CDC, and our healthcare system is going to shit in every which way from Sunday. My mom is in the hospital right now. She's doing better. She's okay. But my mom is a severe asthmatic, and she's got some kind of virus. It's not COVID. And they're like, there's nothing we can do but to treat your asthma symptoms until the virus cycles through. It's like some kind of something. Who the fuck knows? And it's like, what are we doing here? We're exposing ourselves. And it's also like part of the plan. They want us sicker, dumber, and less free.
And poor.
And they're accomplishing that. And poor. That's right. And they are accomplishing that in quick order, because not enough Republicans have any balls to stand up. And only some Democrats have begun to wake the hell up. And thank God for that, at least. But there needs to be more.
And let me tell you, I don't know if people know this, and I don't want to scare anybody. There was an instance of the plague.
Yeah.
In Lake Tahoe last week. The plague, you guys. The plague, which ravaged 14th century Europe and killed a third of the European population.
I'm staying on the island.
But
I don't come back, guys. I'm staying here.
You know what, Tara? I would. I mean, honestly, the plague in the United States in the year of our Lord 2025. Are you joking?
And you
dying like peasants.
Yeah, Well, the good news is, and I think it's important that we find the silver linings here, is that to Julie's Substack tomorrow that everyone should read, that there are things that governors can still do. Michelle says it all the time about how the governors are the first line of defense, really, to try to stop the authoritarian push coming out of DC and Trump. And we're seeing with Gavin Newsom and Pritzker and a couple others starting to wake up a little bit, that they're starting to do this. More governors need to speak up.
Yeah.
More people at the state and local level need to speak up, because they're right. The 10th Amendment, throw that shit back in Republicans' faces.
Oh, hell yes.
Make them defend this, because like Julie said, I spent 27 years on the other side. I used to make those arguments all the time. And I know exactly how these Republicans actually feel about it. They're just too chicken shit to say anything. But put them on the defensive. Make them defend this, because people need to know that what's happening isn't right. And there's still, as we still are an occupied territory quite yet in the states, take advantage and turn it around on them. That's what they're doing to us. Turn it around on them. And when you see that, that's when you start to see results, because you do what they won't expect you to do.
Mhm.
It's like, you know, 101 here. That's how you do it.
And this
All
is the hubris of the Republicans too. That they think that they're like the crafty ones and like they're the ruthless ones and like we're gonna find these loopholes and we're gonna push the boundaries here because the Democrats will never do it. They never think that this shit's gonna come back on themselves. And like, I mean, prime example of what's going on right now. And so then, I mean, to your point, Tara, the 10th Amendment, I mean, let's go. And I just want to say this quickly, if you don't mind. I would like to make a video about this once I have like, you know, the numbers and data in front of me. But like, as somebody who lives in a Democratic state, I lived in the state of New York my entire life. What I'm seeing, and I think it needs to be spoken about plainly. The National Guard troops that are being sent into Washington, D.C., and soon Chicago, then Baltimore, New York City. These are National Guard troops from red states. These are red states where these people live because that's how the National Guard works. So these people have no emotional or intellectual connection to any of these places. So they walk into these places having already heard that they're like these horrible, you know, everything's a mess, everything. So there's already a disconnect between the National Guard and the people who are living there. And in addition to that, we are the blue states who, you know, I think Julie was saying like, you know, the economy of California, the economy of New York State, how much money we put in to the federal government.
They're the moocher states.
They're the moocher states. We're the giver states. And so we are funding our own police state against us. And I mean, the more that we have to say this plainly. Democratic states are being invaded by MAGA and Donald Trump and a fascist regime. We are being invaded. And anywhere else in the world that this was happening, people would call it the beginning of a civil war. Now, I'm not saying with that's what this is, but it sure as hell looks like it when you look at it at face value. This is an invasion, plain and simple.
You know, somebody made the point because the South Carolina National Guard is in Washington. Donald Trump has accomplished what Robert E. Lee never could. You have Southern troops occupying Washington, D.C. That did not happen during the Civil War.
Yeah.
And it's happening now.
Talk about rewriting history.
Think about it from that perspective. Donald Trump did what the Confederacy never could. He had Southern troops occupying the nation's capital.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point.
When you think about it from that perspective, holy shit.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, it started with January 6th when the Confederate flag was in the hallways of our Capitol, which is something else that they never accomplished.
Yep.
So, you know, it started there, and Trump is leaning into that. And now we have January 6th insurrectionists in our federal government, in the Department of Justice, getting or Homeland Security, wherever the hell Jared Wise is, collecting taxpayer money, which is an outrage that not enough people talk about, but it's because there's so much stuff going on that it's hard to keep up. But that's what we're here for. So
right. And January 6th never ended. January 6th never ended. January 6th was the beginning.
Yep.
And that's why and that's why calling him the former guy and like all this shit was so like, no offense to our friends who were saying it, but like it was horseshit. And it was ill-advised. It was ill-advised and it was dangerous because what it does is it took our eye off the ball. Because Donald Trump wasn't going anywhere and he didn't go anywhere. And he was on the road doing MAGA rallies and everything else the entire time. And it's like, and if you are going to go after somebody like Donald Trump, who is so crazy and petty and revengeful and like all the things that we know about Donald Trump, you have to follow through. You can't go halfway. And we didn't.
That's right. What did we say? What's the famous line from The Wire? If you shoot at the king, you best not miss.
And
best not miss. And Democrats missed proverbially, politically.
Well, they missed because it took 2 years to open an investigation into January 6th because heavens to Betsy, the former judge who became the attorney general, didn't want to look like he was being political.
I know.
Merrick Garland, man. I'm
telling you right now,
history will not remember him well.
I am not supporting any candidate for president who does not commit off the bat to have a Truth and Reconciliation Commission about what the hell happened under the Trump administration.
Yep.
If you're not willing to do that, I'm not interested. I don't.
Yeah.
I love
That's a
Joe
good point.
Biden. I love Joe Biden, but the whole former guy bullshit, the whole we don't want to talk about him anymore because he was an aberration.
Yeah, like let's move on. No.
No, nope, nope. I don't want to
You
move on.
can no, you can't underestimate your enemy. And that was the
Yep.
big, big, big miscalculation. You know, Joe Biden was an institutionalist and we're still trying to have faith in the better angels of our opponents. And this was not, they were playing a completely different game.
Yep.
And now we are where we are. And we just can't do that again. We have to learn that lesson.
Yeah.
So
We moved on from
well,
Watergate. Look how well that worked out. You know what I'm saying? It's just like,
but that
we
was
don't,
bipartisan at least.
at least. I mean, it took a while, but yes,
It
at
did.
least.
Well, but it was
And
bipartisan even. I mean, it was Republicans that finally had enough. Came down to the final weeks, they were still with him. But at
right.
least even Republicans at the time from coming, you know, said
It
to
took
Nixon, you gotta
Butterfield.
go.
Right. It
That's
took
right.
Butterfield and the tapes
That's right.
and then all of that. It's
Right.
just, and
It should have been January 6th for us. I mean, January 6th should have been it. So ever since then, that's how we know that they're
I
what they're
know,
willing to put up with.
and Tara, I know you're traveling, so I know that you relate to this news because I saw you respond to it in the chat.
Yeah.
Ashley Babbitt, you
Oh.
know, is going to be getting an Air Force like funeral thing or whatever
I
with
can't.
honors.
No.
Ashley Babbitt.
Oh no.
Ashley
No.
Babbitt is a terrorist and a traitor to the United States of America. Never, ever forget that.
Unbelievable.
Ever.
That is unbelievable. Yeah, we're going to have to save that for another show because I have very strong
Oh,
feelings.
I
I'm
know.
sure you all know. And yeah, well, I also have strong feelings for the fact that it's Labor Day weekend and we're going to let people enjoy their weekends. We want
I'm
to
off
hop
to the
on
I'm off to the US Open this
I
morning.
love that for you, Michelle. That's
yes,
fantastic.
that's Michelle's
Yeah.
thing. She goes every year.
I know. I had
It's
to
very
like sell
cool.
my firstborn child that doesn't exist, but you know, it's like
What's the drink, Michelle? I can't believe I'm
the
blanking.
honey deuce, Julie. Get
yeah,
with
the honey
it.
deuce. Honey deuce, which everybody loves but me.
You could drink like 80 of them. I swear it's just so everybody knows it's Grey Goose because they're like the sponsor or whatever. So it's Grey Goose, lemonade, ice, and then Chambord with like these little melon balls of honeydew that look like tennis balls. And like they're $1,000 million. But like you're like,
That
I don't care. I'm
sounds
at the US
lovely.
Open.
Yeah. I don't
That
They're
sounds
so
like that's
good.
that's better than a mint julep.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh my, it's absolutely better than
Oh,
mint julep.
yeah.
1,000%.
Please.
Mhm.
Have the
Well,
best one, Michelle.
not to be a hater, but it's not better than everything I'm drinking in Sicily.
Well, I went to the local, I took my husband, we're childless this weekend, which is atypical. So I took my husband to the local bar yesterday and I had something called an aviation, which I love. Michelle's had aviations with me.
Mm.
And I don't drink that much. So I had 2 of them. And then at about 2:00 in the morning, I woke up and I was like, oh God, why?
Yeah.
Why? Which is why I'm wearing sunglasses today. It only took 2
Yep.
drinks. That's how lame I am.
Oh
All
my
right.
gosh.
Listen. Oh, sorry. I just want to say one last thing since we are here and we're not. I just want to give out a shout out for Labor Day and what Labor Day represents and why Monday is so important to support labor unions in this country because they're, again, a last line of defense for workers in this country and the protections against the overlords and the corporations and things like that. And thank teachers and firefighters and police officers and the people who are building our cars. Like, you know, this day is for them, it's for us. And we should take a moment on Monday to recognize that and take stock in the fact that in this country, so much of this country was built by the middle class and for the middle class. And we can never lose sight of that. So I just wanted to say that quickly before we head out. So.
Grazie mille, Michelle. Ciao, arrivederci, a tardi, a presto.
Oh, get out of here,
You guys
Karen.
soon.
Goodbye.
Get
Get
outta
out of
here.
here.
Bye, everybody. Enjoy
Bye,
your weekend.
everybody.
We'll see you. We'll be back on Wednesday on May Day only. Bye, everybody.
Bye.